Hello class, this is Mr. Pluns, and we are talking about factoring. Let's see here, this is enriched geometry. We are reviewing quadratic equations, that was parabolas. The first worksheet is factoring. Okay, so let's see here. So hopefully some of this looks vaguely familiar from some time ago. All right, multiply. All right, let's see where we are. Factoring, by the way, factoring. 12 times 2 is 24. So these things are called factors because they're multiplied together. So those are factors of 24. So when you think factor, think things that are multiplied. Okay, so these are multiplied. So this is already factored. So when we multiply it out, we are unfactoring it. So we'll practice that first. So we will distribute. X squared times x is x cubed. X squared times 3 is 3x squared. We just unfactored it. So if we have this and factored it, we'd go backwards. Okay, so negative 2x times x is negative 2x squared. And negative 2x times negative 5 is positive 10x. We just unfactored this. This was unfactored. So if we started with this and went to this is factored form. So one way to factor something out is to take something in common out and put it in front. This is factoring using one parenthesis. So if you look at the terms and think, okay, what can I take out of all three things and put it out front? Well, look at your numbers first. There's a 3 in common. I can take that out. And there's a x squared x. There's no x over there. So there's not an x in common between all three terms. The largest thing I can take out is a 3. So then you can think 3 times what is 3x squared? 3 times x squared is 3x squared. 3 times 2x is 6x. And 3 times 1 is 3. Here, 8x squared and 12x. Okay, there's a 4 in common. There's a 2 in common. You want to take out the biggest thing. So when it says factor, it implies factor completely. So you want to take out a 4 and an x squared and an x. There's an x in common. You want to take out an x. Now 4x times 2x is 8x squared. And 4x times 3 is 12x. This is completely factored. Okay, so hopefully that looks vaguely familiar from Algebra 1. Now, some of you may have done some things with 2 parentheses. So here, we had to distribute just one thing. Here, you have to distribute the 2x and the 3. Sometimes this is called foiling. First, outer, inner, last. I don't think it's particularly helpful, in my opinion, to memorize that terminology. You basically are distributing everything to everything else. Okay, so 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times negative 4 is negative 8x. 3 times x is 3x. And 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. So you get 2x squared. Now your middle terms always combine. Negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5x minus 12. So what we want to do is start with this and factor it. We want to start with things that are added or subtracted and get things that are multiplied. So this is a demonstration of where the terms come from. So we're going to try to work this backward. Okay, let's try one more. So when you multiply, so these are factors of something. You distribute x times x is x squared. Then x times 3 is 3x. Then negative 4 times x is negative 4x. And negative 4 times positive 3 is negative 12. 3 minus 4 is negative 1. So you get x squared minus x minus 12. Okay, now we'll tackle factoring. Okay, so factoring using two parentheses. We'll put two parentheses down on our paper. Now, we're going to have to start looking for patterns. And some of you guys might have tried some of this already. So see if it looks familiar. To get the x squared, that's this. Notice, x times x is this x squared. So this times this has to be this. And the only way to get x squared is x times x. Now the next thing to try is the 12. So 4 times 3 is 12. This times this is the last number. So in our problem we have a 6. So this spot times this spot is 6. All right, so put this in next. All right, 3 times 2 is 6, but so is 6 times 1. You have a choice. I'm going to try 3 times 2 is 6. Now, notice the middle number. In this problem, we have a 5. Up here, we had a negative 1. Where did that come from? It came from the inner 4 times x plus the outer 3 times x. 3x plus a negative 4x, or 3x minus 4x. So it's the inner plus the outer added together. So in our problem, we have 3x and 2x. Now, put the signs in last. 3x plus 2x is 5x. If they're both positive, it'll work. So a positive 3 times a positive 2 is a positive 6, and 3 plus 2 is 5. It works. So these are like little puzzles, like little Sudoku puzzles, except they're more fun. All right. X times x is x squared. Now remember that this times this has to be this. Worry about the signs later. What times what is 8? 8 times 1, or 4 times 2. Now remember that we want to add to get the middle term. Okay, so I'm going to try 4 times 2. So I've got 4x and 2x. Now 4 plus 2 is 6. So the signs aren't both positive this time. But look, a positive times a negative is a negative. So I need one sign of each. And it matters where I put them. Do I want the 4 positive or negative and the 2 positive or negative? I need one of each. Okay, and the answer is I need the 4 negative, because negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2, and negative 4 times positive 2 is negative 8. So this solves the puzzle. Okay, the next one. There's a 2 in common. If there's a 2 in common, you're going to have to factor it out eventually. You want to look for that step first to make all the numbers then smaller and easier to work with. So if you take out a 2, you're left with x squared minus 5x plus 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Now we'll try going further. So we used one parenthesis, and now we're using two parentheses. So recall that this times this is this. We only have one choice. X times x is the only way to get x squared. Now the next thing to look for is this times this is this. 2 times 2 is 4, but so is 4 times 1. Let me try to think ahead to see which one works. Okay. 2 times 2 can't add up to 5. So I'm going to try 4 times 1. 4 times 1 is 4, which might add to 5. So now my middle terms are 4x and 1x. Okay. So I'm trying to get the negative 5 now. So I need a positive times a positive to get a positive 4, or a negative times a negative. Those are my two choices. What if I chose a negative times a negative to get a positive? And then I'd have a negative 4 plus a negative 1. Negative 4 plus negative 1 is my negative 5. I just solved the puzzle. So this was my final answer. Okay, so I'm going to look for something to take out to make things smaller. I can take out a 2. Then I'm left with 3x squared minus 5x minus 2. Leave my 2 out front. Now I'll try 2 parentheses. Now recall that this times this is this. The only way to get 3x squared is 3x times x. So if you have a number in front there, it makes things tricky. So 3x times x is 3x squared. Now, this times this is this. This times this is this. The only way to get 2 is 2 times 1, but it matters where I put them. Okay, let me try it. If I put a 2 here and a 1 there, I get 2x, and I get 1 times 3x is 3x. Now, let's see, I want a negative 5. So if I made these both negatives, negative 2 plus negative 3 is negative 5. Now if they were both negatives, a negative times a negative is a positive, and I need a negative 2. It didn't work. Okay. Let me try the 2 and the 1 reversed spots. So let me try the 2 here and the 1 here. Now I've got a 1x and a 6x to work with. Now 1 and 6 is also 5 if you subtract it. So to get a negative 5, I'd want a negative 6 plus 1. I want 1 negative and 1 positive. Let's see, so if I want a negative 6, the negative would go there, and the positive would go there. Now a positive times a negative is a negative. And 1 plus negative 6 is negative 5. I finally got the puzzle to work. So a problem like this is a doozy. This was tricky. Okay, the last topic in this worksheet is factoring when the middle terms cancel. Okay, so watch this. X times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. and negative 4 times positive 4 is negative 16. Positive 4 minus 4 cancels. So you're left with x squared minus 16. The next one, x squared times x squared is x to the 4th. X squared times 2 is 2x squared. Negative 2 times x squared is negative 2x squared. And negative 2 times positive 2 is negative 4. Do you see how the middle terms cancel? 2x squared minus 2x squared. So you get x to the 4th minus 4. Okay, so here, there's no middle terms. They cancel. All right. Ooh, there's a 9 in common. I can factor something out using one parenthesis. I should do that first if I can. So factor out a 9. And then see if you can factor this even further. So x times x is x squared. And 2 times 2 is 4. And if I use a positive and a negative, I'll have a positive times a negative is a negative 4. And my middle terms will be 2x and negative 2x, which will cancel, which is what I wanted because there's no middle term here. Like this one, x squared minus 16. It's kind of like this is x to the 4th plus 0x squared minus 16. So the middle term is 0. All right, let's see if I can get this one. X squared times x squared is x to the 4th. And 8 times 2 is 16. But that wouldn't cancel. It's 4 times 4 that will cancel. And I need one positive and one negative. Positive times a negative is a negative. Now, interestingly enough, this factors even more. X squared plus 4. This one factors even further because it falls into the pattern. X times x is x squared. 2 times 2 is 4, which I can get to cancel. If there's a negative there, I can get a positive 2 and a negative 2. A positive times a negative is a negative, and with a positive and a negative, I'll have a positive 2x and a negative 2x, which will cancel. I cannot factor x squared plus 4 anymore because I would need x plus 2 and x plus 2, but with two positives, the middle term will not cancel. All right, so if you haven't seen this before, some of this was a little tricky, like that one. That one was a doozy. So you might want to re-watch some of the video, so try some of these problems. So the first part, it tells you what method to use, and the last part is mixed practice. So some of these are tricky, some of these are not possible. All right, so good luck with that. We'll see what happens.